Salah being left out of the lineup is not to scapegoat him or anything, but I just feel that it's just to have him have a time to reset, maybe take a break off this drab run and then get yourself back to your firing best. So I feel in the long run they will still have to go back to their usual lineup that has Salah on the right and maybe Ugo Ekitike in the middle and then Gakpo on there because for now I feel that Isak is still yet to get to his personal.
Welcome to another episode of the Let's Go podcast. And it's good to have you guys on the show. The Reds of Anfield worked alone for 4 games in a row and decided to turn a corner against Frankfurt. Mohamed Salah was benched in that match, and that has led to a series of reactions, especially from Mohamed Salah himself. There have been allegations that he has deleted some Liverpool memories from his social media. And Yinka, is it fair enough to bench Salah at this moment?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. I think the way most people perceived it is that Arne Slot was scapegoating Salah for Liverpool's recent misfortune. But I do not want to look at it that way because apart from Salah, Florian Wirtz has also been benched recently. I think Alexander Isak has not played as much as we would expect as well. Even Ugo Ekitike, despite his, very solid start to the season with Liverpool, he has also been benched a few times. So I would say and Slot has just been looking for balance, and whichever way he has been trying to get that balance, one or two players would suffer from it. But I also think that at this stage in Salah's career, his energy has to be managed. Salah is no longer 26. He's no longer 24. He's well above 30. If I'm not mistaken, it should be about 33 now. His energy has to be managed. Premier League is not like, and I don't mean this as a disrespect. Obviously, we are also Real fans here. But Premier League is not like the Serie A where, the tempo is slightly slower in the Serie A than the Premier League. So you can afford to keep playing players of that age bracket. But in the Premier League, the tempo is much more faster. And you're playing for a Liverpool team that plays in all competitions. And that's 4 competitions now. Champions League, Carabao Cup or AFL Cup, FA Cup, and the Premier League. That's 4 competitions. Salah has to understand that being the star player of the team, being a player with the kind of quality he has, the coach will get to a point where he has to maximize his efficiency, so to speak, and use him in a way that he would always deliver every time he's used. So if there's a game that you feel like you can win without Mo Salah, then by all means, why not give Salah a breather and allow him come back in the more important games? So I think it's just childish for Salah to react the way he has reacted. He's a legend regardless of how his, career ends with Liverpool now. So just, bide your time, enjoy the sunsets, so to speak. And players that are bigger than Luka Modric, for example, experience the same thing at Real Madrid. Luka Modric
Yeah.
was not a starter before he left Real Madrid for AC Milan. And he was, respectful throughout. He was professional throughout. He never threw tantrums. It happens when you get to a certain stage of your career.
Okay. Still on the Liverpool squad, Florian Wirtz delivered 2 assists against Frank. Ahmed, do you think agents Wirtz have turned a corner for the season?
Nevertheless, it's still early to follow the Frankfurt over the season. They are very conceded against all team, but that is not to take anything. That was, but he needs to continue that. The EPL, he needs to show he can do that on a consistent basis. Moreover, Frankfurt was one familiar to. That's not surprising.
Usual customer.
He needs to follow that up with consistent performance.
Bundesliga.
Considering
Bundesliga family.
how much was
Exactly.
on the line to get the signing. So that's not
Homecoming.
enough to justify that he's back. He needs to do that back to back PL and everything.
Anyways, JD, against Frankfurt, we saw a front three of Cody Gakpo, who has been the best player for Liverpool this season. Isak and Ekitike. Tactically, do you think that is a front three that is sustainable?
I do not feel that it is sustainable for Liverpool. Given that two of those three players up front are strikers. They are like number 9. They are real number 9. So I do not understand how you want to play like that for. I do not understand how you want to play like that consistently with such front three. Gakpo is very very comfortable on the left, but it is gonna be a bit too much to have Isak and Ekitike interchanging between themselves in the number 9 and the number 7 position. So I feel it is not bad that he tried it in that game, and it came off well though. So I don't think it's sustainable. In the meantime, I think they can carry on with it, but in the long run, I think Salah will eventually get back to starting line. Maybe Ugo Ekitike in the middle and then Gap on there, because for now, I feel that Isak is still yet to get to his personal best.
Well, Ekitike has started the season much more better than Isak. And personally, I cannot say what is wrong with Isak because this downturn is quite unlike of
He
him.
didn't have the
But
total
Ekitike
preseason,
has
remember.
shown that he can be the man in the long run should Isak decide to falter or not step up as required. But Arne Slot maybe naively has suggested that teams have to play in a particular way for a Liverpool team to function. Yinka,
That's quite funny.
pride speaking as a champion, as a Premier League champion, or the man is just finally showing his naivety on a big stage, managing a big club? Because it was very quiet last season.
Well, I think it's both ignorant and arrogant. Or it's both ignorance and arrogance, rather. And like one of my friends, one would normally say, you don't really know the character of a man until his back is, turned against the wall, or until his back is against the wall. And over the last few weeks, Arne Slot has shown, quote unquote, his character. He always exhumed this aura of a very calm person on the sideline, someone that hardly talks, that hardly complains. But over the last few weeks, with the kind of defeats that they've suffered, we've seen a different side to Arne Slot, the side that talks, that yaps at referees, that makes certain comments in post-match conferences as well. Because I do not expect how a coach with a coaching bag would come out to complain about how his opponents decide to play. I mean, if you've assembled a team that is worth the GDP of some of the smaller countries in this world. In fact, in this transfer window alone, the last transfer window alone, he spent the GDP of some country, and you expect teams that do not have the kind of financial muscle that you have to come to your ground or to face off against you and go gongo or go all out, go and play all out attack against you. And I think you're just being naive. If there's anyone that should expect teams to sit back against him and defend and try to take advantage of the opportunities that they get, it should be Arne Slot, because you have all the firepower in the world. How many coaches can boast of having Ugo Ekitike, Alexander Isak, Mohamed Salah, Florian Wirtz, Cody Gakpo, Dominic Szoboszlai, and the likes in one team? And then you have that kind of team and you're expecting teams to come out and play all-out attack against you so that you can beat them 7-0, beat them 8-0. It doesn't work that way. So I think it's very arrogant of him to say to make such statements. I think it's ignorant of him to not find a way to break down teams that sit down against him. Because why are you a coach if you are not going? Most of the teams that you will play anyways, whether you have 500 million as transfer budget or 100 million as transfer budget, as far as you're a big team, you're an elite team, which Liverpool are, most teams are going to sit back against you. So as a coach that is going to coach Liverpool, you should expect that, and that should even be your plan A. The plan to break down team. It reminds me of when Pep Guardiola was winning the Premier League back to back. Whether you sat back, in fact, if you like, sit down at the back of the post, it will break you down and
He
he
will
will score.
score.
He does not. In
They will
fact,
score
before
you.
the game starts, he would tease you and he would talk about how you are a very fantastic
He will
team and
praise your
how
defense.
you're going to be a difficult opponent because you've got a lot of quality, only to come to your house and give you a nice 5-0 loss. Just hand it over to you on a platter without complaining. So why is he complaining when teams sit back again? Why is Arne Slot complaining when teams sit back against him? Is he expecting everybody to come and get slaughtered? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Personally, I think losing 4 games in a row did something shocking to him. He didn't expect it. The fans didn't expect it. The players didn't expect it. To lose 4 games in a row early in the season
Well, that's to be expected. Anything can happen in the course of a season. I don't think Pep Guardiola also expected what happened last season to happen. But if you have a certain plan for a season and the season goes the way it chooses to go, sometimes the season does not go as planned. You have to sit up and then try to look for a plan B or try to sort things out some other way. And I hope because
Can you guys
I
hear
saw
me?
yeah, I can hear you. I saw part of
Yes,
the
we
game
can.
against Frankfurt, to be honest. And in that game, I think he had a bit of a solution, even though I don't think Frankfurt are much of a test. Everybody that has played against that team this season has scored against them as if they don't even have a defense. Even some of the smaller teams in the Bundesliga have scored multiple goals against. But what I think Arne Slot tried to do in that game was to play 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 that looks like a 4-4-2, and it sort of gave him different solutions. Whether he's able to transfer that solution into the Premier League, where you would face much tougher opponents than Frankfurt, and I mean this has no disrespect to Frankfurt because they're obviously a decent side, but whether he's able to, transmit that is what I'm not particularly sure of now.
Well, moving away from his solution up P, I think Liverpool has been suspect defensively. And for the first time in a long time, Van Dijk is being exposed. And trust me, he's going to suffer a lot this season. And he's going to suffer a lot because he has two fullbacks that are new to the squad that don't understand the level of sacrifice they need to make to shield him. Robertson played with him for a very long time. Robertson can predict what a Van Dijk would in an attacking situation. And you have a Kekes that he's just particular about his man. He really does not really care much how Van Dijk falters against his own man. And I don't know, it's going to be a long season for them. In front of the defense, even Gravenberch has not gotten back to the form that we saw last season. So I think he needs to sort out something defensive. Contributing to attack also, he has been changing right back a lot. Conor Bradley will play, Frimpong will play.
Szoboszlai.
Whether we like it or not, Szoboszlai sometimes, whether we like it or not, that extra that Alexander Arnold offers them in attack, they don't have it anymore. Those cross-feed passes from those amazing crosses, they don't have it anymore. And now they need to find other solutions to break things down. Will Florian Wirtz continue to deliver like he delivered against Frankfurt? We will see. We hope he does. And if he doesn't, well, the Arsenal season is upon us. Hopefully they don't.
Well, we're still open on Man City. Everybody, it looks like everybody no longer talks about Man City, and they've been
Which is
quietly
good for
picking up
Guardiola.
points. It is good for them, and they've
Which
been
is
quietly.
good for
So
Guardiola.
I'm still keeping, a side eye on them to see what's going on that end.
Because anything that makes Guardiola open up any gap at the top,
just forget it.
I think you will see the real Guardiola, and you might see seven straight 1-0s. And the season is gone. Anyways, in the same Champions League, we saw Juventus continue on a losing streak. They lost away at the Santiago Bernabeu by a single goal scored by Jude Bellingham. Juventus, they were neither here nor there in the match, and there are rumors about changing the manager. I don't know, if we start talking about Juventus today, we might not finish till tomorrow because there's a lot of deficiency in that squad, both on the tactical side, off the pitch, and it's not looking good. You have any thoughts on Juventus situation?
Well, like you said, the problems are quite much. If we start talking about it from now till tomorrow, we'll not leave this place. But if we limit, if we decide to focus on their problems on the pitch, I think that they're better than what they're doing at the moment. I'm not quite sure if there's a problem off the pitch, in terms of maybe attitude, because there were reports that there was a bit of an argument between Manuel Locatelli and Igor Tudor, who is the coach, and that led to Tudor. I think he didn't start Locatelli in the Real Madrid game, if I remember correct. So there might be a problem maybe off the pitch. On the pitch, tactically, Tudor has made some very naive mistakes, especially with his starting lineup. He's had to crawl back to get points in certain games. If he's able to get that part of his coaching right, maybe get the proper lineup, get wins, or take the lead early, maybe defend solidly as well, maybe they might just be bad. But as things stand, I would always say that I think that when they started the season, their aim was to qualify for the Champions League. Do they have enough to do that? I completely believe so. I think that they have the squad to qualify for the Champions League. I think that at the moment it's still in their hands unless they go on a very terrible run. If they go on a terrible run, I think Tudor will be fired. But for now, it's still within reach for Tudor, so I don't think they are going to take any drastic decisions. Also because financially they are really struggling. I believe they still have Thiago Motta on their payroll. Adding Igor Tudor to that and then getting another coach is just like, piling expenses upon
Financial
expenses.
suicide.
So I don't think they would want to do that. Maybe they might go back to Motta anyways, but we'll see. Let's see how they do before the next international break, then we'll discuss again.
Ahmed, one of your favorite coaches, Antonio Conte, he was emphatically beaten by PSV in the Champions League.
Emphatically.
He was decisively and emphatically beaten by PSV. It was a sorry situation for the Italian league, considering the fact that Napoli are the current champions, and to lose that heavy against PSV is nothing short of embarrassing. Do you see Conte sacrificing the Champions League to focus on the league this season?
Well, if Conte's pass is a question house, was obviously at the end, who doesn't waste so much time behind the best he has done quarterfinal. So that the loss to PSV prize is imagined by notwithstanding this PSV is the same side that knocked Juventus out last season, same champion. It is not surprised that we lost that tie to them. Going into that game struggling somewhat. They started the season on fire. Ever since that tie land last lost their game. Torino. By chance problem. Now the question of which 11 is going is he made mention he can't afford to sacrifice any of his four midfielders to go ahead with fingers. He said Balan can't have two offensive fingers. So I think he's sacrificing one of fingers to have an extra. That has not
but is his team balanced?
Well, I don't see that balance now. I don't see that balance because I think their attack is
what balance is it? What balance is he making noise about?
He's a very defensive conscious. So when you see defensive Serie coaches talking of balance, they are telling you they are laying much emphasis on defending and not considering rather than what balance actually makes sense. Having a good attack and so once any Serie coach tells you he's focusing on balance, he's stylishly telling you he doesn't want to concede.
It's not defensive enough.
That needs to do something about that situation. And add to that, without Lukaku, Ojlund also had to rely on Lukaku. Is not now. Have to rely on McTominay trying to what he last season. It wasn't to say it is a question of how soon they get knocked out of the champ. Would that give them enough to get back their Serie A season on track? See that once they face Inter over a lot come out of that, and results will actually go in further into the season.
Okay. Yinka, I know you are not the biggest fan of Antonio Conte, but I want us to look at it. Let's look at it holistically now. Conte is not the only defensive manager in the Champions League. In fact, Allegri can be considered as defensive as he is, and we know how far Allegri has gone in Champions. At least he has played 2 finals. Conte is not the only manager that plays 3 at the back in the Champions. We know Conte likes to complain about players. What do you think, in your opinion, what is Conte doing wrong in European competition?
It's simple. If you ask me, it's simple. His tactics are too mechanical. His tactics are too predictable. It's almost like he draws every move for players on the field of play. From training to the field of play, he tells them, this is where I want you to move. Play the ball to this place, play the ball to this place. Make this movement, make this run, make this, make that. And he hammers it time and time again until the players memorize it, to the point that sometimes if you wake those players up from sleep and tell them, yeah, get on the field, some of them know the kind of runs that they need to make and the kind of things that they need to do. I mean, I remember when Conte was Inter coach, there were several games that once we moved the ball from Andanovic to, say, De Vrij or Skriniar, I knew where the ball was going. I knew what we were going to do next. Even as a fan, I was not even part of the guys on field. I knew what we were going to do. Now, imagine me without a coaching badge. I'm just a random guy that watches football, that enjoys watching football. Figuring out things like this. What do you think elite coaches in Europe would do. So I think that he's able to get away with stuff like that in league football because league football season is obviously much longer. You get to play 28 games, 38 games rather, and there's no way you keep doing that, you keep doing that. Especially considering the fact that when you play in the league as well, you get to play more smaller teams than bigger teams. So it's very likely that that system would get you points against the smaller team. So you're more likely to get 3 points. Against the bigger team, you can get a 1 point here and there, maybe get a 3 points, and then before you know, when you had all of these points, you have like an 80-something points or 90 points, enough to win the league. In the Champions League, however, after the group stage, in fact, considering the fact that the group stage is now expanded, it's easier to even maybe get through the group stage. But when the group stage was just 4 teams and you just had to play 6 games, it was much more difficult because out of those 6 games, one is probably on the same level as you as a club. There's another one that's probably not too far behind. So you could have, say, maybe a Real Madrid and, say, an Inter.
In Dortmund.
I'm not saying Inter and Real Madrid are on the same level, but they're not too far behind. And then, let's say Conte is the Inter now. And then you have another Dortmund in the group before you then have maybe a Kairat or Almaty or a young boy. It becomes difficult because you are playing teams of equal strength, unlike in the league. So it's easier to figure. And if you even eventually manage to get out of the group stage, you now get to face the big boys, which is on a 2-legged basis, home and away. You have to show working. And if your working is easily predictable, if I can easily predict your working from 10 games ago, then, it's easier to stop you. It's easy to stop you if you ask me. So for me, I think his game is too mechanical. He does not give footballers. In fact, in the past 1 or 2 seasons, I think he's giving players a bit of more freedom. But before, it did not used to give footballers the freedom to really express themselves on the field. You have to do it the way Conte works. He's too obsessive with stuff like that. And I think, in as much as that can be a strength, is also a weakness for him, especially in European football.
Well, it's safe to say that when you get Conte, you can consider your European participation just attendance market.
I mean, he has 1.3 something points on average in Champions League. 1.28.
Come on. 1.38. That's quite poor. Then we have a Stefan Pioli that has played Champions League semi-final.
He has never played a Champions League semi-final in his career. In over a 15-year career. That's cool.
Never. Even the Europa League final he played was in the COVID era.
Because he had to play 1 game
knockout, where he had to play knockout. The Europa League was even a knockout competition. He played just 1 leg.
Exactly.
We wish him all the best. Still, let's just cascade into the fixture for the weekend. Napoli-Inter. Who is at home?
Napoli-Inter.
Is it that? Okay.
Napoli at home.
Oh, Napoli is the home side. Coming back from a loss, and Inter is coming back from a big win. As a neutral, we expect an interesting match. Have you heard?
Definitely an interesting draw.
To be honest, I don't even care about draw. Now that Milan has not even won, so it doesn't really matter.
Want it to be good?
Let's spice it with 1 goal from both sides.
1-1. Okay, 1-1 is fine. But honestly, I expect an interesting match. Conte's back is against the wall now. He lost against Torino. They didn't play well against Torino at all. They didn't play well at all. They didn't deserve anything against Torino. He lost. He was dragged in the mud against PSG. And now he's playing Inter that is firing on all cylinders. Well, we wish him all the best. But I don't see him coming out with a draw in that. He might lose terribly.
Yeah, it's always difficult to win at the Maradona. But I think I share your sentiment. If there was ever a time to take points off Napoli, it would be now. So Inter has to come up with every trick in the book to try to get all 3 points. But if you cannot get all 3 points, make sure you do not lose. That's the most important thing. But I think they're there for the taking, if you ask. They're there. And is Samson still there?
I'm here.
All right. So we also have the El Clasico this weekend. I think El Clasico is actually just a couple of hours before Napoli-Inter, if I'm not mistaken. Real Madrid will be hosting Barcelona. To be honest, is it on Sunday? Are you sure? I thought I checked the fixtures and it was on Saturday. I must have made a mistake. But regardless, it's this weekend. I'm not particularly sure what to expect because I'm always of the opinion that
who is that too?
Real Madrid. Real Madrid are on top with a 2-point gap over Barcelona, so they'll probably want to keep that gap. But
in a Clasico,
Barcelona against Real Madrid is always a different ballgame.
Well, for me, both teams have displayed their weakness glaringly this season. Barcelona has been conceding a lot this season. In fact, they concede first and they will struggle to equalize, get a win. Yeah, they've been getting away with it. But you can see that eye line of last season, everybody has sat down now to understand how to beat that eye line. And it's very simple.
Yes, sir.
Just keep someone to run from deep.
I think
Just put the
Madrid
ball
are
in
primed
the
to win,
Yeah, it's actually possible. Although, to be honest,
I think
I've
they will
not
win this
been
time around. I think
I've
they
not
will
been
win
too
this.
impressed with Real Madrid. I think they've been doing just
They've not
enough.
been fluid.
Yes, their game has
Madrid
not
has not
been
been
as
fluid.
fluid as you would expect under Xabi Alonso,
I
especially
think
because of what
their
we've
major
come to see at Leverkusen.
their major problem for especially in attack is the fact that they play without a typical number 9. So usually it is a host of wingers trying to operate around the same area. Understand? But one
Do
thing
they have a
is
number 9? Do they have a number 9?
they have a very young Garcia who was very impressive coming into the season, and we expected them to give him chance like Inter are doing with Pio Esposito, but who is going to be sacrificed to get the boy going? Considering even Rodrigo is not getting so many game time as at this point in time, the boy is just at the wrong place at
And
the
your
wrong
boy
time.
Henry.
So the way I see it, Barcelona's defense
Fashionista.
is something that I play into the hand. Mbappe, they are very quick attackers, similar to what we had game PSG. And Barca's attack on the other side, they are also not usually saving grace for Barcelona. Always come go despite defensive errors. This time around, struggling so to say. Look at that. Lewandowski has always Ferran Torres not easy.
I think Ferran Torres is also injured.
Lamine Yamal has started the season slowly. Rafinha is currently injured. We've had to rely on Rashford stand. So on the balance of these weaknesses, I think play of Madrid.
Well,
Well,
we hope it will be an interesting game.
Madrid already lost heavily this season to Atletico Madrid. And if Real Madrid should approach Barcelona that way, it's going to be bloody for them because that will mean them playing open attack against Barcelona.
Can you hear something?
And I think to beat this Barcelona team,
I'm not sure what he was trying to say.
You have to find a way to defend well.
Personally,
and keep an eye
I'm
on
not
the
too
counter
convinced about Real Madrid.
against them because they will
I
leave
think
the
their
space
attack
for
has
you.
been decent, but
The
in
question
terms of
is,
their
are you going
build-up
to exploit it?
and their
That
ability
is
to
where
defend,
your runs
there's
come
something
in.
that's just
You have
off
to time
about
your
it for
runs.
me.
You
I don't know why.
have to
But obviously,
you have to be
with
decisive with the ball. But I
Barca's
think
absences,
Madrid
especially in
have
attack,
enough to beat
Lewandowski,
Barcelona. The same way
Rafinha,
Barcelona have enough to
I think
beat them.
Dani Olmo is also
So
missing as well.
it should be an
Real
interesting match.
Madrid should.
But if I have to pick a winner,
Sevilla and
I
PSG
think I
showed
would
us you
pick
don't
Real
need
Madrid.
you can't build up against this person. You
Can you
just need
guys
to
hear
find
me?
your winger trouble, which is why I
But,
said I think
but does Real
Barca's
Madrid play
weakness
that
is
way?
something that Barca's weakness is something that I believe should play in Madrid. Their strength is in one area that Barca, Mbappe and Vinicius should have. It is still
Well,
all
we
prediction.
we wait
Never
and see
that
what happens. We wait and see what happens. We're hoping for an interesting game. El Clasico is usually, very interesting. Is there anything else we were planning to discuss this evening, or should we just call it a night?
Yeah, definitely, like we've touched basically every plant, but there is one final point. I was looking at the fixtures earlier. I saw Chelsea playing Sunderland, and you understand. Subconsciously, I felt that Sunderland this should be one easy 50. Then I looked at the table. I saw Sunderland up there. I was like, how sneak into the top 7 positions? I think they are directly below Chelsea. I can't remember correctly. I think they are directly below Chelsea or 2 places. And I'm like, what should we expect? I don't know. I haven't taken keen interest in their game this season, and I was like, they must have been doing something right for them to be in such. I don't know. Have you seen anything in their game recently?
Well, I saw.
Who is that?
I think I've seen one of their
Sunderland.
games this season, but I also think that they recruited very well in the summer. Yes, Sunderland. Their recruitment was targeted. They went for experienced players with a bit of quality, and those
Hungry
players that they needed
young
to
players.
target. Yes, and I think it's been working well for them. And I also think that their coach, I've forgotten his name now. A very nice name that I like pronouncing like that. I can't remember his name.
Parker.
No. Parker is Burnley. Parker is
Okay,
Burnley.
sorry.
I've forgotten the name of the coach now. The name is I can't just remember at the moment. That guy has a very proper game plan. You just need to watch Sunderland play. You would know that this is a coach that knows what he's doing. Because of that, they've been able to pick up
they are
3
in
points here
7th
and there.
position. They are in 7th position Tottenham are in
Regis
sixth
Lebris.
position. Chelsea
Huh?
are in fifth position, and they are all on 14 points each.
Regis Lebris. Is that not the name of the manager?
Lebri. I know it's one very nice name that I like pronouncing, Lebri. So
They
you
are
would know that
they are on the same
he
points with
has,
Chelsea and Tottenham.
and that's because they've been picking up points. And if they're on
I
the
think
same points with Chelsea and Tottenham, it means that they are probably about 6 points from first, four or 5 points from first, if I'm not mistaken.
They are 5 points away.
Granit Xhaka gives them a very
Balance.
a very good balance in midfield and a lot of leadership with the way they play. I've seen a couple of their games and they are not all out attack, all out defense. They pick their moments in the match and they will come
Exactly.
at you
Very drilled.
when they smell the opportunity. So they are a pretty balanced team.
It's almost
They
like
don't
a
show they
typical
don't
Italian side that knows when to
yeah,
suffer and when to take advantage of opportunities. That's
yeah.
the way they play. That's the way they play, and that's why I enjoy watching them. I think I've seen them once or twice. Another thing I wanted to mention, I've forgotten what I just wanted to say. I've forgotten what it just escaped my mind. But I think they're certainly are they playing Chelsea this weekend?
Tomorrow,
They are playing
yes.
Chelsea.
Tomorrow at the Stamford Bridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's going to be a tricky
Yes.
game. That will be tricky. So what I wanted to mention is, I also think that one of the things that is, and this is just my opinion anyway, one of the things that's motivating them is that some of us that grew up watching the Premier League would notice that there used to be, in fact, even up to now, there's still a huge rivalry between Newcastle and Sunderland. There's the Northeast, the
Yeah.
time where derby, the Northeast derby, and that's obviously a very big thing. And I know that as a Sunderland board member or as a key officer or key official in Sunderland, you cannot look at the other side of town and see the way Newcastle are doing and not want to, maybe get to that
Be
level or
motivated.
maybe even surpass that level and not be motivated to want to do. And I think that is probably one of the things that has, motivated them to, probably get their acts together and start doing well the way they are doing. And I think that it rubs off on most of the big teams in the Northeast, because back in the day we used to have.
If that's their motivation, they are doing it well enough, because Newcastle are currently 15.
No, like I said, this is just my opinion, because we used to have Sunderland, Newcastle, and Middlesbrough in the Premier League, and all of those teams were rivals because they're all in the same region in England. And if you look
Yeah.
at Middlesbrough, for example, for the past few seasons now, they've neither been here or there. There was a time they made it to the playoff in the Champions League, only to mess up at the last stage and stuff like that. But this season, after Newcastle has done well, Sunderland is following their footsteps. Well, I know their fans would not want to hear that they are following their footsteps. Sunderland are doing well as well. If you look at Middlesbrough in the Championship as well, they're also doing well. So they're also making steps to also get back into the Premier League to try to see. So
Yeah.
I think that in a way, that rivalry is rubbing off. They might not even know this, but I think it's rubbing off on each other. And all of them are using it as motivation. But that's just my personal opinion.
Of course. It's good for their region if the three teams are performing well. And I think, like you said, there's no way, seeing what Newcastle has done in the last few years, that they would not believe in themselves that at the very least we can stay in the Premier League and not get
Exactly.
relegated.
And it's even normal. Sometimes if Milan wins the Premier League this season, Inter feels next season we have to
go for it.
If Barca wins the La Liga, Real Madrid feels next season we have to do better than them. So rivalry in some cases always have a way of, this rivalry is always a source of motivations for teams sometimes.
Samson, any closing remark?
For me, the weekend is going to be warm. My team already blew an advantage, but we are sticking to our target. Our target
depends
is
on what
qualify.
happens. It might be 1 point gained and not even 1 point lost. It might be 1 point gained.
Our target is to qualify for the Champions League, and we are still on top. My manager has spoken.
Everybody in the Premier, everybody in Serie A is trying to qualify for Champions League. Who won't come win Scudetto? Who won't win Scudetto? Everybody won't qualify for Champions League.
That's for Inter and Napoli to set.
All of us will compete for
There will
Champions
be any
League.
first place team this season.
And anybody that finishes
the supporters, so we are standing on Allegri's mandate. We are not Lucas.
Yes,
we're also standing on Tuchel's mandate now. Marotta also said that Champions League is the goal this season.
Wow, Poland, big boy, big boy. Anyways, to our fans at home, We say thank you. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your comments, your likes, your shares. For anyone that's watching us for the first time or you are coming across our video for the first time, please subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us on TikTok, X, Facebook, and Instagram. We appreciate your followership. We don't take it for granted. For myself and the team, they have a wonderful weekend.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye, guys.